Elon Musk made many new announcements over the last few days. First, after saying Tesla's Robotaxi service is already larger than any competitors in Austin and the Bay Area, he promised Tesla FSD version 14 will launch next month and it will feel alive and sentient. Surprisingly, he also said the Model Y L will not start production in the US until the end of next year, and in fact, maybe never, given self-driving in America. He said that Grok 5, when it launches next month, has a shot at being true AGI. And to top it off, he also teased new possible products like including Starlink with every vehicle and jokingly a flying car. Which of these are the most important for Tesla investors? We're going to ask the bulls today. We've got Tesla boomer mama, the queen, Alexandra Mertz. We've got Jeff Lutz, Mr. Incredible, and Larry Goldberg, the Golden Bull. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, Herbert.
Hi, Herbert.
All right, let's start with the first question. He's just on fire every single day, announcement after announcement about Tesla and XAI and others. Which of these is the most important for Tesla investors? Let's start off with you, Larry.
I mean, pick a number. All of this is very important. I mean, the transition of Tesla from, the Tesla of the last 10 years to the Tesla of the new 10 years is in process. Everybody was anxious for it to happen fast and for FSD to become sentient, last release, for Robotaxi to roll out last month, last year, and for it to go to 20 cities overnight. All of this stuff is just, it's crazy how we try and push the envelope. It's going very, very rapidly, in my judgment. And I think we're entering into a new world. To say which is more important is kind of like saying, which one of your children, do you choose to survive? I mean, we are at a point of transition. The transition's going to take another year to 2 years. We've got the semi coming online. We've got, lithium factories coming online. We've got battery factories come online. And that's just, the old Tesla. We've got robots coming shortly. We've got cyber cabs coming very shortly. We've got, expansion of the Robotaxi network fleet. And then we have the Robotaxi becoming completely driverless. So it's impossible to say, this is going to be first or that's going to be first. I think we should just take a little breather, just take a, take a second, take a beat, and just watch it all come to fruition. And, it's coming. That's all I have to say.
The company and the product. I don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. I enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
Yeah, we only earned 50 cents a share the last quarter. I mean, come on, guys.
I'm not sure I agree with taking a beat. I'm ready. I'm ready, and it's coming fast, and it's coming faster. We're going to cover today is Elon on fire. We're going to go through each of these announcements he made. We'll talk about the Robotaxi future is near. Analysts have turned around, and then we'll do the quick fire questions. So Jeff, I'll ask you two questions then, right? I'll go through the list. Which of these is most important for Tesla investors? And then given your background, tell me what you think about his timing, the timing that he's promising things and how likely they're to happen. So first of all, he said Tesla Robotaxi service is already larger than any competitors in Austin and the Bay Area. The variant of the Model Y doesn't start production in the US until the end of next year. Might not ever, given the advent of self-driving in America. He said that version 14 is the second biggest update to Tesla AI Autopilot ever after version 12. It feels alive. It's going to come. It's going to be launched next month, and it's going to feel sentient. And here's what he said. Grok 5 begins training next month. Tesla version 14 also next month. So lots of things going on. And then he said Grok 5 had a shot of being true AGI. Haven't seen anything before about that. Anything before. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I think the way to envision it and playing a little bit off of what Larry was saying as well, I think it was very mindful. There's multiple trains that Elon and Tesla and his companies are managing. And you just have to view these as various train lines that have left the station. Okay, so there's they are building physical real world AI hardware. So think of automobiles, think of what Tesla manufactures. That's one train. The second train is this autonomy train that has left the station. Okay, and then there's this third thing running of super intelligence, Grok, and so forth. You can arguably say there's a fourth train around just their approach to manufacturing, the design of their factories, their localization, and so forth. But let's just stick to the three lines for simplification. They are making hardware. The hardware they choose to make is purely to run AI on it, and they're going to be the first example of a physical real world machines that move through the world that also have a super intelligent brain on top of them. That is the convergence we are watching happening real time. And to Larry's point, people are looking at their watch. Hey, you said this was going to happen on this date. You said this was these trains that have left the station have never been built before. You don't know the engine inside. You don't know the tracks. You don't know when is it going to hit the station? The answer is we don't know precisely. We just know if we rewind the calendar 1 year ago, where were we sitting a year ago? Well, we had version 12 of FSD that I probably used 50 to 70% of the time for my driving. And now I can't drive without turning on FSD 100% of the time. It's the exception for me to not do it. Well, we look at the cars that they were building a year ago. We look at the state of Optimus a year ago. So think of these three trains that have left the station. There's vehicles, there's Optimus, there's these things the machines that are going to run just AI on them. Think of what they're doing with autonomy. That's their whole Tesla AI team and that convergence that is happening. And all these tracks are converging to super intelligence, both from a brain and super AGI capability to move through the physical real world with super intelligence. So I just view it as these three trains that have left the station, and people should stop trying to actually measure them to the second and to the minute and just look at the relative progress and know that plus or minus a certain reasonable period of time, these trains are going to arrive at the station and they're going to keep moving and going on to the next ones.
That is so well said. I loved everything you said, especially when you remind me of what I was doing or thinking a year ago. I've been saying recently that, Robotaxi is now alive. And what we were saying 6 months ago, where wait one day when it's here.
Wait, Herbert, you said what I said was all wrong, and that Jeff was going to say all the right things, and he said exactly what I said.
Yeah,
I said you just said take a beat, Herbert. Slow down, and I'm like, I don't want to slow down. I'm watching everything progress faster and exponentially, and I'm excited that they're coming soon.
I won't forget this.
Hear the FedEx
Jeff,
commercial play out real time.
I know you just said
he needs his clickbait, right? It's always quicker, better.
He's trying to create an argument. Herbert's trying to create an argument.
He is.
It's a conversation. Jeff, when he says next month we're going to see Grok 5, we're going to see version 14. I know you just said you don't really care because it's going to come when it comes, but how much should Tesla invest? Well, okay. How should
these
Tesla
things aren't
investors
on a schedule? These things aren't on a daily schedule yet.
But when he says next month, I mean, like that seems to me he's not just making up some number, right? He's like going, it's going to be a year from now.
You're right.
He's like,
you're right. He said 2 weeks many times.
That's true.
No, but
true.
your
and
point
we don't
is
even
your
remember
point.
how impatient we were every time, and yet we got it.
We should let Alexandra into this, but I would just say, when he starts getting more precise with his time windows is when they actually have it in, like they have it in their four walls and they're just trying to QA it and getting it to make sure it's something that can go out of production. But when he says something like this is coming next year and that's coming next year, those are the ones that could have really wide variance on them of many months. But when he says something's coming at the end of September, yeah, that could be plus or minus 30, 45 days, something, but it's becoming imminent. So think of the three trains leaving and think of the fact that these trains have never been built before. They've never been done before. So to say like, why are you late? What am I late to? What what are you comparing me to exactly is the question. So anyway, I wanted to answer your question and then yield the floor.
Perfectly, exactly what I was hoping for, except neither you and Larry answered the question, and so maybe Alexandra will. Which of these are the most important for Tesla investors? Alexandra, answer the question.
So for investors, probably the fact that analysts switch and that we see institutional purchases the most important, because there seems to be a solid floor net $300. Now, I'm just saying that for short-term people for whom this is important. It's not important for me as a long-term investor, but to answer your question. But can I now say what I really want to say? Mm-hmm. Thank you. So the three trains of Jeff and Larry are the real good examples, but I want to add not only none of these trains ever built, but the stations were not even built. Mm-hmm. Where we're going to, how this is going to be, real AGI, full self-drive, bots in factories and in homes. So it's not only the train itself, it's also the vision and how it all comes together. And that's where the excellence of Elon really lies, right? Having seen that, having invested so early, 20 years ago, and then building it up, because he may not have seen everything 20 years ago, but whenever he saw the new opportunity, he embraced it and went for it. And so, yes, as an investor, those analyst turnarounds and these institutional investors purchasing heavily are certainly giving comfort, because my gosh, every single day, the thud we're fighting again, it is just incredible. It's coming from all sides over and over and over again, be it political, be it these activists, whatever it is, there's always something. And yet the stock price is not going below the 300.
Yeah, I think what you say is correct. But, the idea of trying to pick on what's the most important product, I mean, you take the lowly Tesla Semi, everybody's forgotten the Tesla Semi is coming. And yet there was a very important post, I forget even who posted, I should know, about, autonomy in the Semi. I mean, think about the value of autonomy in the Semi. It kind of beggars autonomy in the vehicles. I know that we're talking about, potentially hundreds of millions of cars eventually running on autonomy. But, if we only have 100,000 trucks running on autonomy, the value of that is probably equivalent to 100 million vehicles. I haven't done the sums, but it is stunningly high. And so try and handicap the importance of these it's a little crazy. I mean, what is important is this vision that he has in terms of, the implementation of real world AI in real devices, in real vehicles, in real robots. I mean, that's bringing Tesla's dream forward by many years. And we have to have faith they're moving at the fastest possible speed. And I think we have to discount a little bit, Elon's projection of dates and times. He hasn't got a great track record in that department. And we should just enjoy the passing show, because it is going to pass. It's going to be with us pretty shortly.
Yeah, when we make smartphone, I tell you that for instance, if we would produce 20 different models in a year, the two models that had all the new stuff inside of it that's never been done before, never been done before in the industry, our variance on those dates were the widest. Yeah. Because the inputs were of things that have never been done before. So those are the things. Those were the most difficult things to put a schedule around. When we did programs that were more reuse of prior products, where you're just doing an iteration. Think, I don't want to say this, but I mean, think iPhone, 15 to 16. Think like that. Those
I thought
are
you were going to say iPhone 50 to 80, but okay.
Yeah. Those were highly predictable. Like we could predict those dates and those volumes within a few days. Okay. When you're doing something all new, I can't the scale at which they're working with, the type of problems they're going after. I don't know of one company that actually has all of these things under one person and they're directing all these things. I go back to the 3 train lines, and then I've never seen, there's nothing else like it. Because like if you compare what he's doing to OpenAI, well, they're doing the kind of the XAI portion of it. They're trying to do hardware, but there's nothing there at scale. There's nothing there in production and scale. He's got $100 billion a year business producing energy and vehicles already. That's also going to produce all these new vehicle types that are under production right now, like Larry's referencing semi and so forth. There's nothing like it. And so when people just try to compare it to this one thing or that one thing, you have to come back like there's all these things are under one entity, and they're vertically integrated, and they actually make each one of those things that much better because they are vertically integrated.
And there are no real embodied AI products in the marketplace today. Nothing.
Correct.
I mean, the closest we have to an embodied AI is our existing Teslas. And, we understand what's under the hood. I just had, a whole bunch of visitors from Israel. We had, this family event over the last 2 weeks, and each one of them who got into the Tesla, my wife was very worried. Do you think they'll be able to drive? I mean, they within a minute they had it. They were driving on FSD. It was a done deal. And I had these 3 Teslas. They're still all over town. With these different drivers, and it's magical. But if you haven't experienced it, if you don't know it, you wouldn't really believe it. So it's happening even as we speak. In fact, once each of these things become real, then we think, oh, well, it's just another Tesla, or, oh, yeah, it's just another version of FSC, or, oh, yeah, it's just another bot. It suddenly becomes real, and we just take it for granted. And that's how it's going to progress now over the next 2 years, and it's going to be a whole bunch of things happening all the time.
And I'll answer your question, Herbert. The answer is autonomy. And once that is the most important thing. And then once they get that changes the hardware products they do. That changes what they manufacture in their factories. That changes everything. So getting to autonomy is the priority.
Perfect lead in. So I was going to say that none of you fell for my trick question, because if you look at all 3 announcements that he made, all of them, they all point to his confidence that autonomy is solved. So he said that Robotaxi is already larger than any competitors in Austin and Bay Area. He's confident that it's going to become bigger and bigger. FSD 14 is going to be alive and sentient, going to launch next month. And then the controversial one, Jeff, when we get here, need to hear your answer to this. But, this whole controversy that his comment that Model Y L may not ever be made if self-driving is already progressing so well, just tells you his confidence of where we're headed here. So take all those together. That's the biggest announcement. Autonomy.
Allow me to remind you, Herbert, 2 years ago, Elon refused his manager's request to produce a vehicle with a steering wheel and controls and pedals. And even though he assented in the end to their requests, he actually didn't allow it to happen. So the smaller car, like the Robotaxi with steering wheel, it just never happened, because that's just how he is. He's just so focused on the future. So I don't think this enlarged vehicle is going to happen, in this current state. I think it may evolve, and maybe a Robotaxi that evolves into a van, or maybe just be the Robo van. I don't know, but.
Well, this is interesting, because I think this panel may say something separate from what everyone else has been telling me. So a lot of people took this and got very, very upset. They don't believe what he's saying, and they're fighting me when I'm telling them this is what he's saying, but they're saying don't believe everything he said. So here's Elon saying that the Model Y L won't go into production in the U.S. until the end of next year. So a lot of people are saying that's silly. That's absolutely silly. It's already in the same production line. They've already built it forward. China and Europe. And so there's no reason why they couldn't release it here as well. Might not ever. That's silly. We absolutely need this product. You can do both. You can create more robotaxis, and you don't need to switch over to, I mean, this is 90% of the people I've spoken to have been fighting me, and the audience, by the way. I don't know how many audience members, after I did a show like this, kept saying, Brian White is right and you are wrong. And I'm just saying, I'm just reading out what he's saying, and nobody's, even though it's Elon saying it, they just say no. And so it sounds like you, Larry, do believe he's made a commitment here.
People don't know Elon. I mean, Elon is Elon. He understands his own mind, and he has seen the future, and this is the future he's driving towards. We'll see.
Yeah, and people reason from how people purchase cars today, how people have current automobile needs, with the car sitting 80% of the time idle in a driveway. But whatever, he reasons, how will the taxi world look like? What is the needs for taxis? How many people at the same time take a transportation from this to that point? And what is the best shape of the car for these cases? So thinking, a typical OEM would think, oh, great, we need a 6-seater and plan the next 4 years to release it. He thinks, in that market, I don't need a 6-seater anymore. I may need a 20-seater. I may need a 5-seater. I don't know what. But he sees the need from a completely other perspective than from a car buyer's perspective.
I tell you what I think is happening too. I was going to say, if you put an operational hat on, there's a couple of things you do. One is Tesla is not a globalized supply chain anymore. They were actually a couple of years ago, but they had been moving towards this localized supply chain model. So the Model YL that's designed and produced in Shanghai, those parts cannot just be sent over to the US anymore, especially given the tariff regime. So that supply chain needs to be brought up and localized in the US. So what they're doing now is they're going a little bit more to this model of they're launching this variant in China. They priced it to have probably gross margin parity with what they have with the current Model Y. They're going to see how it sells. If the whole thing sells out, they can't keep them on the shelves. They're going to know what their price sensitivity is. They're going to know this thing is a hit. Maybe it may be localized, but it's a hit. That's part one of this. There's a little bit of an assessment here. They want to understand cannibalization, want to understand all of these things. They're not going to be launching this boom, boom, boom in each different region. He had to say what he said in the post because he has about $10 billion of inventory that is procured every week to produce. Every single week, there's about $10 billion of COGS that are pushing out 25,000 existing Model Ys per week. If anything interrupts that flow of $10 billion of material and puts question in people's minds of like, am I waiting for this longer thing? I like this longer I'm going to wait. That is enterprise risk from a cash perspective for the company. So cannot Osborne the current product, has got to keep it going. So he gets on and says, this thing's way out. If you're in these regions, don't even think about it. They get their data out of China, like, oh, this thing is successful. It's really good. In the background, they can work on preparing the U.S. supply chain and launching it. Finally, a lot of the parts that dictate this length, they added 7 inches or so of length. Though a lot of those parts are vertically integrated things that they do in their factory, so they can still have tremendous reuse. And if they have to change that length for the U.S. market, they have to make some modifications. So when he says those words, this variant, that is important because they may do something slightly different than that exact product that was for China. So keep those two things in mind. $8 to $10 billion of inventory running every week, cannot disrupt it. And think on this variant comment a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Can you clarify? Because I was following along and then now I got a little confused with what you're saying. Are you saying that then he is lying or he's not lying? Is he lying that he's saying, well, you just said that he has to be careful not to cannibalize. That's why people say, then he must be just kind of like saying next year, but really it's going to come in the next quarter, but he doesn't want to tell you that now.
I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows for certain. He knows if that product is a smash success, But he also, the other train that's coming is autonomy in the US. And that could change what people want to. You're going to really cram 6 people into a robotaxi? I don't know if it's going to work that way, or he has a different view of a large passenger vehicle for autonomy, where there's much easier ingress. There's not easy ingress to get into a 6-passenger Model Y. Model X is easier ingress, quite frankly. It's not easier ingress on a Model Y. So he's not lying. He's keeping his options open, and he doesn't want to kill his current product that's running and his $8 to $10 billion of inventory that he wants to have uninterrupted and flowing out of his factories.
And I do believe Austin will be very busy building other models, and this is probably not the priority.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to understand there's a whole production line being experimented on even as we speak.
Correct.
For the Cybercab. This is a huge, huge deal. This is the future of the company. This is it.
People's answer to that is they'll say that you can do both. You can do the Model Y L. It's on the same production line. They've already retooled it as part of the new Juniper model already, and that he's just saying this so that you don't cannibalize. This idea of might not ever build this, impossible, not true. That they will create a robotaxi version instead of the Model Y L.
I don't know what's impossible. I'm just saying he's keeping his options open.
Time will tell, but my experience is when Elon speaks, that's what he believes. He doesn't have a filter.
Exactly. And usually he doesn't package it in something that I want to say that, but I'm packaging it like that. No, usually you can just take it at blank value.
Yep. I agree with that. Anyway, we can all agree to disagree.
Yep. I want to, I've been having this debate. You guys are all on the same side on this time of the other debates I've been having.
Often.
People are misinterpreting what he's actually saying, and they jump to the conclusion. This is what they'll say. You kind of talked about it, Alexandra. They're saying right now, there's no way Tesla's going to stop selling drivable cars because I need a drivable car. And then you need drivable cars that is used for my rural suburb to be able to do robotaxi, And I'm like, no, what he's saying is not that he's going to stop selling Model Ys and Model 3s completely next year. That's not, they're going to keep selling Model Ys and 3s. It's whether or not they want to add a Model Y L to the lineup or instead focus on a robotaxi vehicle instead. And they'll say he can do both. And that, the Model Y L is already well on its way. This is just a lie. So,
I mean, there's no way to know. They could be right. We could be right on balance of probability based upon the history of the man. I think he means it. Now, his management may not mean it. The people who are responsible for the products may not mean it. They may be thinking still in their head, no, we're going to do this and we're going to do this soon. But, he's the boss. And so when he says that, typically that's what happens.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone, too, I agree with Larry and Alexandra's point. These efforts for launch are going to take longer in this new tariff regime. When we did Model Y in the U.S., even probably a lot of Model 3, Model Y, Model 3, we're still importing China. We're selling China battery materials, cells, and a lot of parts actually come from global sources. Tesla has global sources in their supply chain, and they have localized sources. And the percent of their globalized supply chain is shrinking, and the percent of their localized supply chain has had to grow. And when you have a larger localized supply chain, those can take longer. Unless you've launched all these efforts concurrently, those can take longer to launch. You can't just spread it to the factories now and tell those globalized suppliers, ship here, there's no tariff, ship here. Now there's a 25% tariff on these things, and it changes the economics of these vehicles.
Yeah, and I think that the most important aspect of this is the business model. I can see Elon saying to himself, I don't want to be an auto manufacturer. I want to be a robotaxi service. and I want to manufacture my cars for the robotaxi service. Everybody's very focused still on the sale of the cars. Maybe we're not going to sell cars in the coming future. Maybe we're just going to say that's it, because perhaps the demand for robotaxis are going to exceed, 2 million, 2.5 million, 3 million a year, which is our maximum capacity. So I think he's watching very carefully how this thing evolves.
I did a poll the other day asking people what is more of a nuisance, looking after clients, looking after Wall Street, and looking after, I don't remember what the third one, retail shareholders. And funnily enough, Elon liked that poll, because one thing that is for sure is running a customer-oriented car manufacturer is a pain in the backside. If you can make the same amount of money by running your own fleet, you would already choose your own fleet. But if you can make 5 times the money by running your own fleet, why in the world would you sell cars to customers? Why in the world? It is a pain in the backside.
Oh, Alexandra, we're going to get so many comments telling you that you're wrong, that I'm wrong.
Yeah. That's engagement, and then I get paid by X, and I can buy more Tesla stock. It's all good with me. Keep on going.
The 90% of the people will say to you, and they say that Tesla will never stop selling cars to customers. Or just to be clear, neither of us are saying that they're going to stop selling cars next year. It's going to be 5 years, 10 years or longer, but over time, they will slowly start making more robotaxis and go double down on that.
And you're wrong.
I'm not putting a date.
You think it's earlier, 5 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not putting a date on it. You're putting a date on it. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
He always does that, Larry. He slips it in as if it was us, and it's not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys, I'm just trying to protect you, but you guys are actually people who are saying Tesla will stop selling cars like before 5 years, right?
No,
we didn't say
when
that either.
Regulation is in place, when it is adopted, when the moment has come, you will see. No, you said 5 to 10 years. The curves will touch each other, where building robotaxis and getting service revenues from them will be as high per individual four-wheeler, whatever you want to call it then, because it's not a car anymore. And then the decision will have to be taken. And that's it. And maybe they take it 6 months later or a year later, whoever, but there will be a decision, yes.
Or semi-trucks. Yes. Whether it's a car, a semi-truck, or a robot, or a humanoid robot. I think it matters not. It's machnik. You can have a semi.
You've been too long with the Jewish friends. Here we are. I love it.
and a cybercab, and all of the above could be manufactured solely for ownership by the Tesla Corporation. We don't know this, and we don't know how quickly this transition is going to take place. We don't, and we're not kind of trying to sit here and prognosticate on it. What we're saying is that there is a very high probability, perhaps, that Tesla may just become, a lessor of equipment of humanoid, bots, whether they be 4 wheels, 16 wheels, or two-legged.
And one indicator in that direction is that they are now accepting leases of short duration, 1 and 2 years, on inventory cars. Yeah. And that for me first of all, they're super smart how they structure financially those leases, because they repackage them and give them to the market. And since they get AAA conditions for them, it's a win-win for us. I can tell you, it's a win-win for the company. The second point is that the fact that they are now considering shorter leases and leases on the inventory just shows exactly the point Larry was making. It's becoming a lessor. It's becoming much less a seller of cars. Those cars can come back. They can be integrated. They can actually be purchased. The person leasing it can have an option to purchase it at the end. But if it doesn't, Tesla knows what to do with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeff and I did a great show on Monday where there was just a number of things that Tesla has done to move people into this lease subscription monthly fee that then they start bundling. everything, superchargers and FSD is part of it. Or now that you buy a Model Y S, you're forced to buy this bundle as well. And then the old used cars being brought back in and being sold at super low, $143 a month lease pricing. They're bundling everything and moving you to a monthly fee.
Leased.
Leased,
sold.
yeah.
Yeah, there's this whole world in economics of producing consumer devices. The smartphone is one example of what happens to your phone when you return it and you trade up for a new one. There's this whole other world of those phones that they get remanufactured for a certain price. They get sold at this higher price, and you would be shocked at the margins on that business. And by the way, it goes out to different regions of the world in many respects as well. It's more of a global thing. That was just one point I would make. The other thing, and this could turn into its entire show, Larry keeps bringing up the point on semis, and it's so relevant because we talk about, number one, Tesla is going to produce a semi. That's one. It's going to have cargo. It's going to carry freight. And then the semis are going to be autonomous, where the drivers can potentially work longer hours. But what happened? What about the whole Uberization, the whole tying this into the freight network of supply chains and saying, I know that I have this much capacity in the United States of Tesla trucks. I know exactly how each bed is loaded. I know where they are in the United States, and I can do route optimizations. I can almost Uberize and figure out, how do I get a truck? I have material. I have to get it from point A to point B. How do I do that? And how do I plan that whole network and do it faster? That unlock, that will pull so much of the supply chain off of rail into trucking. That unlock is many trillions. We didn't even talk about this yet.
I am doing that whole show this Saturday with CERN, and CERN and Brian Wang did a lot of research on this about Tesla Semi and robo trucking and how CERN is throwing out some number.
Oh, great.
I don't want to put a number, but something like $400,000 per year. Why would you? Brian Wang was throwing out some facts saying that Tesla Semi is bigger than Robotaxi. I have to dive deeper into his research, but that's the show we're going to do this Saturday.
It's very possible. The TAM shifts this is where most analysts break. They break when they try to take Uber and Lyft's economics and apply it to Tesla Robotaxi, because their economics, Tesla Robotaxi economics, open up and bring more TAM in than they could ever possibly imagine. The same thing will happen with Semi. It's engineered that way. The unit economics, the system design of what they're doing is engineered in a way to not only absorb the existing TAM, but to massively grow it.
Yeah, and one point to look at the semis, sorry, Jerry, just 2 seconds.
No, please.
Is that there is actually quite some competition in the self-driving truck world. Small companies, and I'm not saying they're going to make it, not at all, but it shows the people that dug into that market, they know how huge it is. And, what economies of scale are going to be winnable. And of course, Tesla will win that market as well. There's no doubt in my mind. But there will be, in my view, some better players than what we currently see from the OEMs. Oh, and by the way, you didn't address that Honda now found a partner for full self-drive.
I'm about to show it to you now.
Look how I threw him the ball. Curveball again.
No, I was ahead of you.
Softball.
Oh, you were ahead.
Beach
you
ball.
were ahead of me.
I'm ahead of you. I'm literally just flipping my screen.
Now, 5 minutes
because
later.
I was going to ask you, Alexandra. I knew you were going to do this. Is that you said Honda, possibly partners for Tesla, and here's Honda announcing a partnership with Helm AI instead of Tesla's and so forth. Helm AI, and you talked about this. 4 employees that came from Tesla. But again, just plugging myself a little bit here. I just did a show with Adrian Balfour, who is ex-software for Ford, GM, and Stellantis. He has his own consulting firm now that is consulting on the software stack for these OEMs. And he told me exactly why OEMs won't partner with Tesla. And
Tell
it's a
us.
great show. You guys, you have to watch a show. I think he
No,
says
no,
it better than I do.
Tell us the line. We will watch the show.
Herbert, how many
Believe me,
times are you going to plug yourself on the show, by the way?
I know. Sorry,
we
guys.
done?
I'm on top of things, dude. I just haven't done shows.
Give us the summary, and we'll watch it.
Why don't you just run a Chiron at the bottom? Why don't you just run a Chiron at the bottom of all your upcoming
And then
shows?
you watch this. You have to point in the corners where you plug your videos, right?
Yeah,
And why they're so
Now
much more
tell us-
important than what you have on Cyberbulls right now.
Come on, tell us. Why are they not going to Tesla?
It's that whole thing where people understand that once you give the golden goose away, that you're just become a commodity and you're creating boxes, you're creating bricks, and they want to own it. And then he said he has a path, very difficult for them to get there. Like, how does Ford, who has 180 partners, how do they get into the same module, same, I can't remember the pack that you have to use to, communicate with all the software. He's got a strategy for them to get there, but they need to partner, and they'd rather partner with companies like Helm AI rather than Tesla at this point.
That's
Now, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you, though, that, right, that's a good point. But I agree with you, though, that there will be many automakers that will not be able to do this, and they will just go with Tesla, but that's why they just won't do it.
At the moment, they are resisting. So you agree with me? They are resisting. They don't want to go there. I mean, I agree with the point. They become builders of bricks, right? Because in the end, it's just everything else will be inside by Tesla. But and I understand how tough that is for them. And I also understand actually the supply chain and all these suppliers and everything that hangs on them. I mean, we discussed a year ago or 2 years ago how there are 40,000 suppliers for Volkswagen. If you suddenly have to tell all these people to coordinate, good luck with that. Or if you replace them by just going with Tesla, that's the end of a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises that are living from those big OEMs. I hear that.
But I'm going to pitch another show. Larry and I did a fantastic show. Larry's brilliant. He's been talking about Tesla becoming a 0.5 supplier to OEMs. And this guy, Adrian Balfour, pointed out that on the other side, guess what? All the OEMs have already partnered with Tesla for the supercharger. And people don't realize, he said, that they have to buy a thing that they have to insert into their cars. Tesla is already a supplier to them. And they will then need to eventually just integrate more and more of Tesla stuff into their cars. So
where do you put the link this time for Larry's video here?
I'll point to Larry. There you go. I can't figure out. Okay. Woo. So what you guys think? Would anybody here how many times have we all said, we think Tesla's going to announce a partnership this year and next year, and nothing's happened?
Yeah, the more I rethink about it, the more Tesla has to get to autonomy themselves. So that's their focus. They have to get it done. I think we thought that could have happened sooner, but it hasn't. So they have to get to autonomy. And then these other companies, I think your realization is correct. Their forward valuation declines if they just partner with somebody with a much larger valuation to just do this and give it back to them. It doesn't really help them as much in terms of how they're valued in the marketplace. So it's a real precarious time, but I think people are just I think a lot of people don't believe it. I think people are kind of stepping back. By the way, they all have Teslas. They all have them. They all have them deconstructed in their labs. They have vehicles on the track. They have all their autonomy team. They all have Teslas. So they all have the information. It's more of a matter of what's the right timing for their companies. And I'm sure for Tesla, like Elon said, he's being very selective in terms of partnerships. Right now, the entire auto industry is chopped up like you would not believe. There are very few companies that have large model build-outs. Everything is chopped up. So it's not actually, it would be very highly inefficient for Tesla as well to start working with someone. But I think if I'm Tesla, I need to get my vehicles, my Robotaxi network stood up, and then I can maybe look at licensing this thing out. I think they have to, by the way, because what Elon said earlier this week, it's going to turn from making fun of them and why it doesn't work to why it's unfair.
Yeah, I mean, that's really been the history of this thing. So did you see that the state of California? No, it's NHTSA have a new complaint out against Tesla about reporting accidents. So there's another round of grief to go through, and then there's a new court case against Elon for overselling autonomy, and so I mean this is just going to continue as we move forward. But there's a moment that when the drivers, the safety drivers come out, or safety monitors come out of the cars, and they start driving themselves. And at that point, everything changes. Now, in the case of Waymo, they had monitor safety drivers for almost 2 years before they came out of the car. And why they're coming and baiting Tesla because they have safety monitors in the car, it's kind of crazy. Because that means once the monitors come out of the car, they lose they're admitting that they will lose their edge when those monitors come out of the car. So it's going to be a very interesting ride these next 6 to 9 months. Very interesting ride.
Let me maybe address the two cases you just mentioned and the third one. So the Nashta story, actually, by the time it got published, Nashta already said, we're already working with Tesla on it. This was a reporting issue. Tesla reports by two different means, and they didn't get them at the right place. Now they know that the second mean has to go to that place, whatever. It was something really stupid that got sorted out. So that one is under control. The case that was so publicized by Forbes about these minority shareholders is a group, I don't remember their name anymore, but it's something like that, a really strange name. It's a Texas law firm who specializes in class action suits, who has been running around other social medias. I've actually seen them on both Facebook and Instagram, searching for retail shareholders who had been in the stock in 2016 when Elon had made this initial claim that the cars will drive by themselves and blah, blah, blah. So they built this whole story over months, and they now found a couple of retail shareholders that can prove that they've been in there in 2016 and believe this. But it is the typical money pitching class action suit. I think they have not met Tesla yet, because I don't think Tesla is just going to give in and pay. And then the third one that came up this morning is not a law case. I want to make this very clear. It is by an institution called SOC something, SOC investment, whatever. They are not even investors. They are a group. I actually know only of one woman who works out of DC, who represents or works with 4 or 5 unions. And she targets regularly big companies that are not unionized, and brings forward whenever they do something that she feels. Her main topics are usually DEI or discrimination related. But now her new subject is the following. It's getting a bit technical. I try to make it easier. Elon got his 2018 compensation package in 2018, of course, and then Tonetta came. In 2019, Tesla passed an employee incentive plan with a total of 200 million shares, clearly indicating that these shares were not for Elon, they were for other employees, and then that got approved in that shareholder meeting in 2018. Then Tonetta happened. Then we re-voted on the 2018 plan a second time. Now we're getting close to the Supreme Court verdict. We may want to talk about that, but if not, doesn't matter. I can talk at a future time. We have to get talking about it by mid-October when the hearing is, but not now. But anyway, so we re-voted a second time on Tonetta, and that got debunked by the Chancery Court in Delaware. And so now Tesla 2 weeks ago put in place this substitute for the 2018 package. The 2018 package is more than 300 million shares. But in the 2019 employee plan, we're still 96 million undistributed. Now, remember, in 2019, we said that they were not for Elon, because in 2018, he got the other package, right? But now that he doesn't get the 2018 package, Tesla reasons and says, well, there are 96 million available. Let's give them to Tesla with this whole thing that this is to Elon. Let's give this to Elon. And now that hopeful grant, which is linked to if ever we win Tonetta, he gives it back and all that. It's not a double dip. But anyway, if that works, it has to go through 4 weeks of FDC and DOJ scrutiny. We're in the middle of that, so we'll know in 2 weeks whether it goes through. So what does this SOC lady do? She says, oh, I don't have shares, so I can't do a case against Elon. I can't go to the courts. Oh, this is not big enough for a 13F filing, so I can't do that. So what am I going to do? Oh, I found the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has a rule that has to protect all shareholders. So she wrote this letter to the NASDAQ saying, look, in 2019, they said it's not for Musk, and now they're giving that allocation to Musk. And she obviously didn't think this through. But what she did think through is that the letter actually ended in the press much quicker than it arrived at NASDAQ. So obviously they were all running with it since yesterday evening. And that is that. So, I mean, anyway, however this ends, worst case scenario, Elon does not get these 96 million, which can happen because the FTC is against it, or the DOJ is against it, or the NASDAQ now suddenly doesn't want to think this through, or whatever, then he doesn't get them. That's just it. Okay. We're not worse off than we were 3 weeks ago. Best case scenario is everybody understands a little bit more than this lady who has obviously an interest, and then we're out of that. So none of these 3 cases worry me. That's just what I would try to say in short, in a long.
Yeah, I mean, trying to predict what the outcome of a court case or a regulatory case in this country is kind of, it's trying to predict the future. It's really tough, really tough.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Alexandra. Just incredible information. I did not know about that. But, just like knives are out, and they've been out for a long time, but more and more are attacking Tesla and Elon, especially as he gets closer to solving Robotaxi.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to discredit him. Yeah.
I don't think it's that much worse than 2017, do you?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't here in 2017. So
it was 2017 was pretty, 420, funding secured. I mean, it was pretty bad. I mean, pretty bad. So it's just another day, day.
Pretty good. That's what it's supposed to be. Okay. I guess we have to talk a little bit about these new products because I teased it at the beginning. These are a couple more announcements that Elon did make just this week. And one of them was this Toby Lutke is, I guess he's part of Shopify, founder of Shopify. He said, really needs a ship with Starlink hotspots for the passengers, though. Saying that, Tesla vehicles, especially if you have, Robotaxi, he's referring to the Model Y L. Wouldn't it be great so the passengers in the back can have Wi-Fi hotspot? Elon said, good idea. And I talked to Larry about this, and he showed, he has his little, this is not his video, but he does something like this where he has his Mini that travels around with this vehicle, his Cybertruck, and he gets some access. And then you've got Elon joking. This guy, he used a Grok Imagine. Here's a Cybertruck and a plane, and it's flying. And he goes, maybe Tesla should make this. Is he joking? Is he not joking? What do you think about these new potential products?
He's joking. Herbert, come on.
I know. I know he's joking. I mean, there's coming out.
The flying car is a joke. Yeah.
The flying car is a good joke. But I did surmise that, they've got this massive factory building antennas, Starlink antennas in Texas, outside of Austin. It's gigantic and it's highly automated. And I'm surmising that these antennas now are costing Tesla less than $100. So building them into the vehicles, I think, is a slam dunk. So, I think that adds huge opportunities. They talked about, inference, distributed inference, direct to sell. There's all kinds of opportunity here. I don't know. I may be wrong, but I think there is.
Yeah. I mean, the Starlink for these two companies to be under Elon, and then you see people like, with suction cups putting their antennas. in their cars. It's a really clunky implementation. What's in vehicles today, this 4G modem that's typically, I think, on the AT&T network, that is a very inexpensive solution. Think of it as you have this very small PCBA, and it goes out to a very inexpensive antenna structure in the vehicle. That's a very inexpensive connectivity solution. And up until this point, it has served us for the bandwidth that the car needs. But you're this fork in the road. You either go to a 5G network, which has much lower latency, much higher bandwidth, or the modem's going to be more expensive, or you have this company, you've made this terrestrial, you've made this network of satellites, and you make these antennas, as Larry said, they're taking the cost structure down. The Starlink implementation, the vehicle would actually be far less expensive. You're stripping out all those housings, you're stripping out all that packaging, and you're really just putting the core electronics and an antenna routing system in the vehicle. It seems logical. It seems like a next step. And I think it would be a huge value increase, quite frankly, for Tesla.
What is that value increase, Jeff? What is it exactly?
I mean, you have
broadband.
You have real broadband capability anywhere you take your car in the world. How do you put a price on that? So take that over this low bandwidth connection we have today, but all this stuff has to work together. There has to be a reason. What content are you bringing down where you need that amount of bandwidth? And you need that across millions and millions of people. You have to think about utilization rate of these services. So right now, a 4G modem for the last 10 years has made sense given the amount of bandwidth coming in the vehicle. It's a cost, feature, value equation that makes sense. But in the future, this higher bandwidth connection, where's the inference going to happen? Is it going to be more on the network? Is it going to be more on the actual vehicle side? So these are all the things they have to think through.
And Jeff, cars have to park in a garage. And how do you get a Starlink signal into the garage? So, I'm not sure you can fully replace, if you can replace the 4G or 5G antenna at all.
They can work together. Yeah.
Yep,
it's so inexpensive. That modem is sub $10 in my opinion.
Yep.
Just the modem itself, the modem chip.
Yeah.
Wow. That was very fortunate to have your knowledge. I was going to joke around and say, what does Jeff know about mobile connectivity? They need to be
just a little
hiring you as a consultant right now for so many
Tesla
products.
Tesla does not need me. They're great. They're doing very well.
Well, then they can hire me. How about that?
If you want to plug your show, it's a great place to do it, Herbert.
See, here he goes again.
Plugging my own show, plugging me the whole time, right? All right, let's get to quick fire questions. 10 minutes here, so we don't have to rush on these ones. How credible is Musk's claim that FSD version 14 will feel alive and sentient? Haven't heard from you in a while, but Alexandra, you start us off.
Well, given that my new Model Y with FSD version 13 feels alive and sentient, I think that is very credible.
What do you think it means when he says alive and sentient?
Well, that it's even smoother. The thing is, I am so convinced about it already. Does it make zero mistakes? No, it doesn't make zero mistakes. But I think it's already very, very clever in, driving, deciding which lanes, deciding, ahead of time. The other day I drove down to LA and there was an accident, obviously 20 miles ahead of me. So he took me somewhere else. I didn't even have to think about anything in little roads that I've never seen before. The car was never before. Probably some other car was, but that doesn't matter. And it just did it completely. So I have little comprehension how you can get from this high level to an even higher level, but he has done it before and he will do it again. So I'm impatient to have version 14.
You said he took you. Who's he?
Well, actually, now the thing is, every time I go in the car, I go, okay, Elon, drive me there and there. Just gives me this feeling.
Oh, so it's.
I do.
Got it.
I do. It's. I'm going completely nuts now. This is pre-dementia now.
Yeah. The good examples of what it means by alive and sentient. One is, when it goes to the toll booth, right, and recognizes using the cameras what's actually happening in transaction when the person says, thank you, good evening, we're done, and then it knows to drive off.
But it doesn't say thank you back.
Yeah, so there you go. When it goes to a drive-through.
It's going to be saying a thank you back in short order.
maybe they will give it a voice.
Yeah.
But when it goes to a drive-through, it knows that it should get closer to the window, and then again, knowing when to drive off. Parking, right? When it gets to the parking lot, it knows what your intention is, and just almost like if you had an Uber driver, and kind of like trying to decide, where do I drop you off, in front of the driveway, or do I actually go into the driveway for you? Maybe those are the kind of things he's talking about.
I think that alive and sentient is a feeling we sometimes get with our cars right now. I think I'm aligned with Alexandra. And I think we see just how smooth and how human-like the movement of the car is. But I think it can improve, and I think we will see, significant improvement. I'm looking for, the parking lot situations to improve significantly. The end of ride and beginning of ride situations to improve significantly. That's what I'm looking for. And I will tell you, I find Grok in the car extremely valuable, because I listen to a lot of books on tape on my drives, and then it raises a question. These are all relatively technical or business books, and I'll stop them and I'll ask Grok about an issue that I feel the book's raised that maybe is wrong, or maybe there's some explanation I need. It's incredibly useful, and I'm just looking forward to that time when Grok becomes far more integrated to the vehicle's controls. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, there's so much noise in the system right now with FSD. It's honestly, people really don't understand how to measure and how to quantify it. I know Tesla has data and information understanding. This is a qualitative statement. Alive and sentient is qualitative. It will be quantitative for me. Number one, when all these use cases are solved. First off, every driving use case needs to be solved for. Everything relating to construction, related to people waving cars around, related to emergency vehicles, relating to parking lots, as Larry was going through. All of these situations need to be solved. So you have to put a little bit of a critical hat. Like, to me, we have to get the feature complete. Okay. I think what Elon's referring to here is the model size, the parameter size, the amount of tuning that's available. It is the how natural it already feels. People already talk about when they get into a Robotaxi versus when they get into a Waymo, how much more smoother the coffee cup test, all of those things, Tesla is progressing along beautifully. And I think that's where we're going to see this big jump. I hope FSD 14 also solves all of the use cases that are open. They have to be solved in order to get to unsupervised. Otherwise, you can't have unsupervised. Well, finally, for me, and I'll come up for air, Larry, for your comment. Finally, for me, what alive and sentient will be is some of Larry's point is when Grok, when the brain in the vehicle and the brain in the driving computer can somehow work together, where I can say, hey, I'm behind. I need to get there a little bit faster. Can you drive a little bit faster? Hey, we're entering a construction area. Can you kind of route us around here? And it hears me and understands me, and it turns it into control and action for the vehicle. That for me will be a massive step. This is getting into areas where other companies may not ever be able to do that.
I just wanted to make the point, Jeff, that the ability of Grok to integrate with FSD will significantly improve the reporting on the edge cases and significantly train against the edge case, or provide training material against the edge cases. Because right now, the whole thing of pressing a button and saying what went wrong is broken. It's not really working. Nobody's really paying attention to it anymore. But it could be very much dramatically improved with Grok. And by the way, I don't think they'll ever solve, quote, all, unquote, the edge cases, because right now the human driver doesn't solve them all. Anyway, sorry.
Correct. Yeah. It's fair. Yeah, fair. I think both points are really spot on.
I think you guys started answering this question. How does Grok 5 integration change Tesla's AI moat beyond vehicles?
Well, I mean, this is the whole, I go back to the 3 trains leaving the station. This could be a whole show, Herbert. But this is, the AI brain operating on Tesla's physical real world embodied AI products. Like as Larry said, there really aren't other real world AI products that are out there. What are they? The whole smartphone industry has been arguably stagnant in this area. I would say, quite frankly, Google is and I'm biased, by the way, but I would say Google has the closest version of using real world AI on a smartphone and a product. But there really aren't other machines out there that run via AI.
How does a smartphone survive in the future? I don't understand the role of a smartphone anymore.
The role of the smartphone, you will see a massive redistribution of what is, if you take the bucket of components, there's 1,500 components or so, you will see a massive redistribution of those bucket of components inside of a smartphone to change, to be able to do more high bandwidth operations and inference local on the device. And the whole app ecosystem, I agree with Elon. There's just basically going to be streams of information that come into the phone, and you should be pressing one thing or saying one thing to the phone, and you should be able to get you should not need 100 apps to get everything you need to get done in a day. If I want my boarding pass from United, I should just tell the phone, show me my boarding pass, and it should appear.
But the phone doesn't seem to be the right form factor or the right combination of devices. I mean,
well, that's arguable. That's out there. So there's people that are arguing, is it this rectangle that's in your pocket? Because you have a whole power consumption thing, or is it something that's on your head, or is it something? So that argument's out there. That debate is out there.
For this bar mitzvah that I my granddaughter's bar mitzvah that I attended last week, I wore my Meta glasses so I could click on the pictures that I wanted to take without having to pick up a smartphone and so on. Yeah, nice. And that was a great experience, except, you can't really you can't really zoom in and compose the photograph. You just have to accept what's in the glasses. It's very, very kludgy at this point because of that. But, that just, it kind of brought home to me that the phone is this collection of devices, and it's not necessarily the best form factor, it's not necessarily the best solution.
Well, Larry, did you know Jeff and I did a show on Monday. We talked Tuesday. We talked exactly about this because Elon said that at the end of the day, all you need is an edge device. So probably just a slab that has compute power in it. You don't need operating system. You don't need the apps anymore. And so whether or not that slab is in the form of something you hold, or if it's a watch, or if it's glasses, he needs compute. He says you still need a device that has the compute power in it to be able to do the bandwidth transfer. He said you can't just get away with, we're not doing Neuralink yet, right? So.
Yeah, I'm not sure a brick or a slab or whatever you want to call it is. I don't know. I mean, maybe it could just be your belt. I mean,
people make jewelry belt like Jeff was saying. You can do.
I've been in all these conversations, by the way, over the years,
I know.
If you tell you a number of things that
one day we'll find
out
what your glasses and what Alexandra's glasses are, because there's a reason they're wearing it. They're taking photos of me.
I mean, it could be a fabric.
It's all about you, Herbert.
It's all about me this life.
Could be a fabric in your shirt. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it just seems that we're about to change everything, I think. Anyway, we'll see.
Wonderful. Thank you guys. What a fantastic show. I don't know anybody. Do you guys know anyone like Larry Goldberg? The guy is using Meta glasses. He is studying every AI there is out there ahead of us, and he's just a brilliant mind. He brings the entrepreneurial mind and he explains what Elon and Tesla's doing because he's done it. This guy's done it. How many companies have you sold, Larry?
Well, I just discovered that a company I recently resold for double the price. So I don't feel so brilliant today. 2 years later. 2 years
that means
later,
the product. That means the company you built was very successful. That it succeeds. That's better that it sells higher than it is. Like they buy it and then they just dump it.
I could have held my stock for another 2 years. Anyway, I'm not that bright.
Okay. Well, I hope
No.
everybody
The only bright is Herbert.
brighter.
Brighter.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
we
hope
both
everybody
are.
got a little brighter because of the panel that I bring in. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Great show as always. Love it. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.